Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the next season of the HIGHVOLT Web Talks, the legendary HIGHVOLT Web Talks. We are, as usual, live here in Dresden. It is 2 p.m. in the afternoon. In the East Coast, in the US, it is 8 in the morning. So welcome to you to your first morning coffee with the Web Talk here live from HIGHVOLT. And it is 8 in the evening in Asia, in the Asia region. So welcome here to the dinner talk for you. We have a very interactive format this time. Of course, we are very interested in your questions, and the most important thing I would say on the HIGHVOLT Web Talks is my sidekick, Dr. Uwe Kaltenborn. He's again with me in this season. Hello, Uwe.
Hello, Brian.
Where are you from? Where did you come from right now?
Yeah, from LA, as usual.
From LA.
That was already the first joke today. Now
we have another one.
You have another one?
No, but LA, not LA in the US.
No, Ligau Augustusbad. This is the place where we have a supplier 10 kilometers outside of Dresden. It's a very nice, small village. Nevertheless, that was always the joke. What I get asked from home at home. So, what have you done today?
Yeah, it is really the time. Of course, sometimes you have to make jokes because these times are really tough and hard. And another one is, of course, how was your trip from the kitchen to the living room? I mean, we are all kind of here, not very much on trips. But first of all, I mean, we are in Dresden, of course, at the HIGHVOLT headquarter. Uwe, where are we located exactly today?
Yeah, as you can see, today we are again in our big test hall. So in the background we can see a very interesting piece of technique we have built up here, or actually we are building up. This is a WRM resonant test system for a cable manufacturer with up to 800 kV test voltage. So therefore, if we can make a view also upwards, there we can see this is also then something really big also in terms of height. And today we will hear also something more about such similar equipment also with huge amount of weight.
And we have to talk just for a moment, just for the first minute, a little bit about these pandemic situations. Uwe, how were the last months here coping with all this?
I think when we looking back for the last 1 year, so we have to face their different situations throughout this month. And for me, the most interesting thing was talking cross-industry also with completely other manufacturers and other industries. So you can see there's 3 phases. More or less according to the 3 waves we are facing with the pandemic. The first phase was survival. So everybody has this new impression, everybody has to react on that, and that leads to sometimes stupid failures, simple stupid failures, things like you order 3 things from the same color and what gets you delivered, 2 in the correct color and the third one in a different color. So that was the first weeks in the pandemic situation, and so I think that's something everybody can understand. So then the second phase was very clearly dedicated, make things happen, what needs to make happen. And that was the phase we would like also to make a focus on today, because here creativity and innovation was key, how to get in new tools, how to do things different to get the job done. Mm-hmm. And now we are entering the third phase. It sounds a little bit dramatic, but I think the right name is the phase of fatigue, because if you continue like in the second phase, then we will overstress everybody. So therefore, it's much important that in the third phase we come to a situation where we can handle then also the new tools, the new processes in the right way, so that we come back to productivity and efficiency in that what we are doing today. So also to release a little bit the stress from all our colleagues and people around the world working under these conditions.
And it's really amazing. I mean, everybody is 100% awake here at HIGHVOLT, how you did this with your team in the last months, even in the last year. And now, of course, for this web talk, we have a little improvement in forms of digital tools. That's why we're using Slido this time. We have, of course, also the chat. And Uwe explains for a moment how Slido for the web talk works.
Yeah, so now I have to go into the presentation mode. Yeah, and go forward. What we would like to use now is Slido as the tool where you can ask your questions and where you can also answer some of the polls we have prepared. Why we like to switch to Slido? Because here we can collect the questions and we can continue to answer the questions also afterwards. We can download the questions and we also have the opportunity to have interactive polls. So this is what we would like to try today. How to access? There are 2 or 3 ways. Either you put in directly the link as we have shown here. The second one is go to www.sli.do and then you can access the event with the #webtalk, or you make with your mobile picture of the QR code and then you can directly go to the functionality of Slido. There you have 2 major topics. One is the Q&A functionality. Here you can type in questions. I have done a trial here where you can see how is the weather in Jakarta, and you can vote pro and against questions, and then we will use that also to ask that to our participants here. And the second functionality, that would be and polls where we ask questions to you and you can then give an answer, and then we will see a result out of that.
Great. So we only motivate you to really participate as much as you like here in our web talk, and I have the honor now to present you our panel, to present you our experts in this round. We have in Indonesia Mr. Cawir Ginting. He studied electrical engineering at North Sumatra University since 1987. He is involved in installation of GIS, including on-site high voltage tests up to 500 kV. He spent more than 17 years as a GIS specialist for Alstom. He worked for Hitachi before starting his own business in 2004. He has installed and testing hundreds of bays of GIS around the globe. He is currently now managing PT HIGHVOLT technology in Indonesia with several business units, and he's a member of the working group SIGRE B3 45 to 50. Hello and welcome, Cawir Ginting. Then we are switching over to the United States of America. Dr. Gregory Smith is there. He is the test laboratory manager for Nexans HIGHVOLT in the US, in Charleston, in South Carolina. He studied physics and mathematics at the College of Charleston. In 2015, he received his PhD in physics from the Wake Forest University, where he studied various topics in nanoelectronics, from polymer solar materials to organic lightning technologies. He moved to an industry role at Nexans High Voltage US as a cable system engineer, moving from there to the test lab, where he worked his way up to the test laboratory manager. He's a member of IEEE PES and serves several committees. Nice to talk to you. Hi, Greg.
Thank you for having me.
And live with me here in Dresden in 3D is Volker Schmidt. Hello, Volker. Studied electrical power engineering at the Technische Universität in Dresden. He joined Siemens as a development engineer starting 1996, I think, as developer at HIGHVOLT here. You took over the role of the leadership for the test field and the service department since 2006. And you are a member of working groups at SIGRE and IEC in Geneva. Welcome, Volker Schmidt.
Thank you.
So these three gentlemen are the experts and of course ask your questions, and we start with the first round of statements. But 1 second before, Uwe, you have a little comment again to the Slido poll here.
Yeah, so this is the first time that we really try to make an interactive poll. So I have activated Slido so that you can vote there, and I hope that we can see also the result here. So I don't know if we can get
100%. Look in the frame.
Yeah, so maybe we leave it a while there so that the one or the other person can give a vote in the next seconds.
Okay.
So yeah, but this is also a very important result, so that everybody who participates in the poll has introduced new digital tools, one not, in the working environment due to the pandemic. So I think what we can see here is that the pandemic has tremendously driven us also to use our new digital tools.
Absolutely, and we will come to this in the talk, of course. Cawir, talking to you, your first statement to this round is: when the expertise, experience meet creativity, nothing is impossible. Pandemic COVID-19 situation not only bring difficulties and limited access and forces us to integrate extensively the digitalization, Uwe just mentioned it, in the high voltage technology. Now, Cawir, as the CEO of PT High Voltage Technology, what are the key activities of your company?
Thanks, Florian. Since 2004, PT High Volt Technology engaged in power sector focusing on 4 activities. One is engineering, procurement, contracting, trading business, thirdly, technical service, and 4, on-site HV testing service provider, including PD measurement. For EPC and trading business, we are covering market for Indonesia, but for the technical service, we provide expertise in GIS SF6 for worldwide market. For on-site HV testing service provider, we have 9 systems from HV Dresden to test power cable, GIS, transformer, and rotating machines up to rated voltage 500 kV. And we have resources to serve Asia Pacific and worldwide market.
Thank you very much for this first statement and a little insight in your company, Cawir. Jumping over to Greg, your statement to the opening statement of this round. Over the last years, focus has shifted to remote work and collaborative activities out of the necessity due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Modern tools have facilitated the ability to conduct remote factory acceptance tests where the customer can experience and witness the required tests without having to travel. We anticipate that this trend will continue and will progress out of the pandemic. Now, Greg, Goose Creek is one of the most important production locations of Nexans, a top market player in the field of power cables. In 2020, Nexans continued huge investments in the biggest American high-voltage cable production site. Can you tell us a bit more about?
Yes, thank you. So Nexans is transitioning to trying to be the pure player in energy delivery. We're serving customers on all continents. We've got an industrial footprint in 34 different countries and commercial activities worldwide. We have a base of employment of 26,000 local experts. And then the business group that we work in is the Submarine and Land Systems High Voltage Business Group. We are serving customers on all of the continents. And we have an industrial footprint on 4 countries. Through this business group, we also have 2,200 dedicated employees. As far as the offshore wind energy supply chain, if you go to the next slide, we offer turnkey solutions for submarine cable systems. The value chain for this goes from several different fingers. The first is the inter-array cables for the offshore wind farms. These connect the wind turbines and then send the energy to an offshore substation platform. From there, the factory that I work at specifically works on the export cables. So the export cables send the energy from the offshore platform to the onshore grid. via an offshore portion and an onshore portion of that export cable. What we specialize in is turnkey solutions for submarine cable systems, from the engineering and design, type testing if required, production of the offshore and onshore portions of that cable, transport, installation, marine installation, both on land and sea, and then, of course, protection and commissioning of these systems. We are heavily invested in multiple different production facilities, primarily in Japan, Norway, and of course in Charleston, South Carolina, where I'm sitting. We've just undergone a major expansion of our production facility here to transition from land high voltage to submarine high voltage. We've invested heavily in our production and also our testing facilities.
Greg, could you exactly see, because of the shore from South Carolina, also some turbines already? Are they in view?
Currently, off the coast of South Carolina, there are no offshore wind farms, but along the east coast of the U.S., that is an area that is being rapidly developed.
Interesting. And you see, I think, the new ship behind you also. So it's an absolutely growing, very fascinating market. Thank you for the first insight and the first statement, Greg, to you coming here to Volker. Your statement for this round is satisfying the customer needs, of course, is still our highest priority. In the pandemic, we learned how fast external forces, as for example a pandemic, can change priorities. So flexibility is not only a buzzword, it saved projects at HIGHVOLT, your flexibility here in this company, and your customer sites. Now, Volker, you are heading here the service at HIGHVOLT, responsible for component testing, system assembly, FAT, commissioning, and SAT. How is that working with limited personal interaction with your customers?
Yeah. First, thank you. First, welcome to all to this web talk, and thank you, Florian, again for the intro. We are the manufacturer of high voltage test equipment. We saw some of our equipment here in our background, and we have to deliver this equipment worldwide. We have several milestones during this project, and two are very important. One is the FAT, and another one is the SAT. These are very technical and commercial milestones of a project. For an FAT, it is very simple to use the digital equipment and have such kind of FAT, because the system is prepared here at HIGHVOLT in our factory. We have all the experts here. Everything is well prepared. So usually an FAT runs very smoothly. For an SAT on-site at customer, it is much more different.
Absolutely.
Because the experts here at HIGHVOLT, and we have to decide how we deal this distance and do the installation there. We have there three options. One is to send the complete team from HIGHVOLT to the customer, do there the installation and the commissioning. Another possibility with some more digital usage is to send a reduced team to the customer and do much communication with Dresden, with the experts, and with some support of the customer, of course. And we have also the option for special kind of test systems to do a remote SIT completely here from Dresden. But this depends also on what kind of system we have, and also a little bit on the experience of the customer.
It's amazing because you kind of keep the successful company here running for nearly 100% productivity in the last month. But the bottleneck was getting the customers convinced that you have done the job as promised, of course. So what was your solution, or one of the solutions?
Yeah, it's really a challenge to keep the production running here, because we have to deliver some test systems per month, sometimes 2 or 3 test systems per week out of the factory. And if we cannot do FATs, which are very important milestones, as already mentioned, then the production will get completely stuck because this big systems will block everything here. So it was very important for us to find a solution. And there we have a big advantage because we are a medium-sized enterprise. So we have very short communication ways between the works council with the general management, with the personnel at all. So we were able to start with the first video FAT within only 4 weeks.
Wow.
In 2020, in mid of March, on 22nd of March, we had the first lockdown here in Dresden.
Yeah.
So nobody was able to travel and come also to Dresden. And only 4 weeks later, on 22nd of April 2020, we had the first video FAT here.
Could we see something from this? I think you brought a model here that we placed on our table.
Yes.
Just shortly, how does it work?
Yeah, we had several options. At the beginning, we start with not the perfect solution. There's a helmet with some installation there with a for a smartphone,
mobile phone.
and
but this is what we call like a startup mentality to just do it, and design thinking. So the camera is installed in front of the helmet. The other is a little more advanced system where you have a tablet and a more advanced camera with a monitor. So it's both ways communication.
Yes. Then we also start to include also the demands, the requests from the customer and from our people. And the customer said, okay, it's very nice to have a view. So they also want to have an overall view. So we usually install several cameras, similar than in this situation here, and have tried to have for the customer in the total view and also a view to the specific equipment maybe. And the final solution what we have now here is
just this shortly.
This is a camera and head-mounted tablet what you can put on your head, and this is equipped with a monitor, what you have here directly in front of your eyes.
So the camera and the monitor is in both integrated.
And you can see what the customer see. You have a microphone and speakers, and so you can communicate and all these things.
Excellent, and it's kind of a augmented reality, of course, working and developing more and more. We're just, I think, at the beginning of these tools, and they become much more also on site, like really easily wearable. Volker, thank you for this first insight here into it. Uwe, comment?
Yeah, and we have a short video how it works.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. That's what we want to see. Moving pictures. Excellent. So we could see these pictures. They were filmed, of course, with this system, Volker, and then you could be like really on site and get the job done there.
Yes, you can control the operator of this.
Very good and clear picture. Thank you very much. Of course, one possibility, and you have to invest and be always like in the actuality. Greg, talking to you here in South Carolina, Nexans did a major investment in the test systems for Goose Creek video FAT was something new. What was more complex, convincing the technical experts or the management to accept the digital FAT?
I think it was absolutely the technical experts. You simply can't replace the organic experience of having your hands on the equipment, sitting in the supplier's test hall, HIGHVOLT, for example, and interacting directly with this complex equipment, and then having the discussions and the dialogue back and forth with the colleagues that you have the FAT with. However, we have to understand the situation and adapt. The COVID-19 pandemic put some unique challenges in our place this year and last year as well. These are critical tests, and the equipment is very complex. So we would obviously strongly prefer to be sitting in Dresden, get the experience, and get to meet all the individuals who interacted with this project. But that simply wasn't an option due to the lockdowns. So we had to adapt, and I think HIGHVOLT did a very nice job putting that together for us. These tests occur in real time, and of course there's going to be challenges when you're doing this remotely. So you have to find a way to solve the problems in real time. Sometimes that may require taking a break or changing a camera view or coming up with different adaptations on the fly. So certainly I think it's the technical experts who are more difficult to convince. Management, I think, is generally open to solving the problem. Whatever solution we come up with to solving this issue is, we have to get it done in time. That's the most important thing.
And of course, it's an ongoing process. So let me ask you, there must be learnings on both sides, of course, because we are just like we have to be very flexible. Any requests and recommendations from your side for the next digital FAT? What could be improved?
No, I think flexibility is key. As far as recommendations, over the past year, we've all had to adapt and improve the way that we work globally and work remotely, whether it be across town or across the ocean. I think in general, defining the objectives is the most important thing that you have to achieve beforehand. Careful planning is required. Delays in time zone can also be an issue, but we can all adapt to that. There will always be complications that arise, but I think constantly using new technology. Originally, when the pandemic started with clients of ours and interactions with HIGHVOLT and other suppliers that we had, we were using tablets and webcams, but now we're using things like new cameras installed in the factories, more professional equipment, things like Volker demonstrated with the augmented reality. We've done something similar here where we use Google Glasses and connect via Wi-Fi to give the client interactive perspective on the test system that they're observing.
Very interesting, and that's one of the key positiveness here in our talk, that we can jump from one ocean really over to the other, to Indonesia, going to Cawir here. You acquired also a test system from HIGHVOLT as a technical expert in the first line, of course, on the one side, and as a CEO of your own company, being responsible for your customers and for your company. How easy was it to accept the digital FAT or SAT?
Fortunately, a few test systems that we have to do, the digital FAT, it belonged to us. So it was pretty smooth for us, mainly because of two factors. Internally, our organization is dynamic and flexible and can accept and can also adapt. But also we have quite significant percentage of millennials in the company. They are very familiar with the digital era. But secondly, we know HIGHVOLT very well for decades, and we trust the quality is very much. I mean, without physical presence to see by our own eyes, to touch it with your bare hand, you need a big confidence for your counterpart at the other side.
Do you think that the next time when you have to make the choice coming to Dresden, having this wonderful fresh air here in Dresden, having a Feierabendfeldschlösschen beer, meeting all the people, having also this haptic effect, what do you think for the next test system? You go for the video FAT or for the you jump in a plane and come over?
Florian, this is very interesting question. But no matter how sophisticated the digital technology, we are still bio, social, and spiritual being.
Absolutely.
Therefore, meeting and coming in person to Dresden, having fellowship physically and social experience is the best and the ideal situation, as we do not only relate to machine but to people. But of course, to visit the beautiful and exotic Dresden. Anyhow, digital remote FIT is also a very good solution in time like this or in the emergency situation, as long as we get the essential matter of the things.
So it will be certainly going in hybrid systems all over the world. So we will meet again. That is definitely for sure. We will using all the new technologies, cameras becoming smaller, interaction is getting quicker and even in real time. So we talk about here thousands of kilometers having no echo. This is really already great. We are halfway through our web talk in this season here. Uwe, we have Slido as a new tool and we have our good old chat also. Where is more going on?
In the moment, I'm focusing on the new tool
Yes.
because it's also a learning for me to operate that in the in the right way. So we already received there altogether 8 questions, and there I would like to take also some of them forward.
Go for it.
So one interesting point which got also a lot of thumbs up. How do you deal with the time difference? For example, the 8 hours to Japan for a remote FAT. So the question was, how early in the morning did the guys at HIGHVOLT wake up to go to the factory and to do the FAT? Volker.
Question to Volker?
Yes, interesting question. Yes, we found a solution. It depends, of course, always. It has to be an agreement between the customer and us. But we have different ways. We can start very, very early in the morning. But what is more practice? Usually, FAT takes at least 2 days under normal condition, because you have to show everything in detail. And so now with a digital solution and with a time shift, sometimes we expand it to 3 days to have more time and to can do a little bit more convenient to the customer and to our staff.
Great, flexible solution.
Yeah, another important question, which is dedicated to HIGHVOLT and also to the customer. So maybe we can ask that to all. And the question is: do you need the same IT technology on both sides, and are there standard solutions available? So I think we have their standard solution.
Yes, I think we have some standard solutions, but fortunately, these standard solutions are flexible enough that you can receive it everywhere with a lot of tools. So also today we use different tools, not only one. So yes, there are standard solutions, but and it has some advantage to have one standard solution. But all these tools are flexible enough.
So
my point of view.
Very clearly, we are connected with Greg via Teams and with Xavier via Zoom. It's working today, interactive also via different tools. So we are open also then to the special software. Nevertheless, hardware-wise, I don't think that there's any requirements. Maybe Xavier and Greg, did you experience any technical problems in terms of the digital tools?
Certainly we had some technical issues in the beginning. These new programs like Teams and Zoom were not really proliferated to everyone who needed to use them initially, so we all had to build the experience. We've had to do the experience from both sides of the camera. We've conducted remote FATs for clients of ours, and then we've been on the receiving end of multiple FATs from HIGHVOLT to other machinery suppliers as well. So there's been a lot of learning involved and a lot of patience required and creativity.
And Xavier?
Yeah, from our side, yes, in the beginning we have connection problem for the camera, and then also we have to adapt a few things because of course this is our first experience. But anyhow, finally our testing engineer can solve it, and then all the FAT, SAT is going very well.
Great. Uwe, last question.
Yeah, I did. I have to choose here, and
Two short ones, of course, as you like.
No, I'm thinking about because we have a final round with questions.
Great.
As we explained something of that before, then
perfect teasing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, was remote FAT on the agenda before the pandemic, or did it accelerate the changes? So I think that's a question going mainly to Volker.
Yeah, I take the question. It accelerated very, very much because of the pandemic. We used some different digital tools, of course, before also, but in this in this way, we use it because of the pandemic situation, yes.
So the big accelerator, as in any field, I mean, this is disruption pure. This was for this round of questions. Of course, continue to ask these questions via Slido and via our chat, and at the end we're gonna sum it up and take some of your questions more. Greg, the next round goes to you. Goose Creek is another milestone for the most powerful factory cable test system in the world. Commissioning equipment of more than 300 metric tons. Imagine these are really several boxes from Europe, from Dresden, shipping it to US is a quite big challenge. What was the most critical issue to be solved in this transportation?
I think it was logistics, planning, coordination. As you know, there was a major disruption in the global supply chain due to the pandemic. So getting all parties together, getting the timelines locked in with one another was a major achievement to overcome. Ultimately, I think good communication helped solve that. Building relationships and trust beforehand was another thing that we had to manage. HIGHVOLT was a new company for me to interact with, and so having the ability to hop on a video call and get to know one another beforehand, and then discuss the technical details and the very small details that we needed to coordinate beforehand was a major thing to overcome. And then, of course, on a system of this magnitude, getting things delivered on time, where we needed them, how we needed them located was a major milestone as well. Ultimately, we were able to do it, but it was certainly challenging.
And knowing how eager the HIGHVOLT crew is here, the guys doing the job, but how difficult was it, your job, to coordinate the experts coming from Germany with your stuff and external stuff that you had to use for this project?
For sure, that was certainly a challenge. Of course, there were lockdowns across the globe, even in the US, even though they may not have been as severe initially as some of the ones in Europe. So, and then also internally, Nexans had some requirements that we imposed to try to prevent the spread of COVID-19 internally and protect our workforce and our business. So in order to get the team from Dresden to commission and install the test system, was quite a challenge. We had to jump through some red tape. We had to get some letters from the U.S. government and from Nexans stating that we had a national interest and it was in the best interest of the U.S. and our business to have these colleagues come. We had to manage quarantine times, COVID testing. It was pretty difficult, but we did manage in the end.
Excellent. Xavier, you are doing FAT, video FAT, of course, connected here to Dresden. The factory acceptance test runs very fine for you. How was then the support from Dresden to bring the new test system into operation in Indonesia? How was your personal SAT there? Yeah.
Honestly, in the beginning, I questioned myself, is it work? Because we have no experience before. But finally, indeed, it was a good and very useful remote FAT. I must acknowledge the extraordinary support from HIGHVOLT Dresden, because since few years ago, HIGHVOLT Dresden has trained very well our testing engineer.
We see it on the
Then our
picture.
testing engineer gained a lot of experience from on-site testing that make them understanding and familiar with the system. It could be for whom do not have enough knowledge and experience of the system. I think digital FAT will be a challenge, but doable, and will take longer time and patience. Fortunately, we already have a good relationship and communication with the responsible person from Dresden. Indeed, it helped a lot of during the process. And for doing this one, we can make a lot of HB tests after this FAT. So this digital remote FAT really help us to do the test that we have already commit to the customer. Thank you for HIGHVOLT Dresden.
Excellent, and of course, very, very nice picture that we saw here. You really used the street in front of your company to do this test field there. Have you any improvement for the future?
I think only from our side, we need to prepare the infrastructure in case of the digital or the other digital activity. For example, which we also face few challenge for the digital remote FAT. One is our premises is not mean for HBT activity. So we need to do some additional arrangement, especially with the safety consideration. Secondly, we need digital equipment, especially with multimedia, video and audio arrangement. And of course, we need additional media personnel. But indeed, we can solve it and the test going very smooth.
Great, and thank you also for your creativity here and being here on the site doing this SAT. Volker, knowing your responsibility for the service here, for the service crew of HIGHVOLT, you are also involved in several other digital projects at HIGHVOLT. What others offer will be pushed further? Can you talk about this?
Yeah, FAT and SAT is one thing, but there's another thing that means maintenance. And for maintenance reasons, we have started with an HIGHVOLT portal, an internet application where our test systems are connected and where sensors and conditions of the system is transmitted to this platform, to this internet platform, and where we and the customer have a cockpit of the test system in what condition the system is, and if maybe a maintenance is necessary.
Okay.
And yeah,
On the screen.
yeah, we can see it on the screen now. Another thing, or we extend this platform to a collaboration tool where where the customer can download documentation, circuit diagrams, data sheets, and so on, where we can offer downloads for updates and also uploads from the customer to get some discussion about special situations. Another thing is remote access to our test systems on site. This we are doing already for a longer time, where we can connect directly to the system of the customer, and in case the customer needs some support for a special test or for troubleshooting, we can support or we can see everything what the customer has on the screen and can support also by operation of the system.
We see the RDR, the remote diagnostic access,
Yes.
is a module system.
Genau. Yeah, and the last but not least is training, especially in this time, is very important for our customers because the traveling of the experts is very limited. So training on site is very important. So we started in 2016 with an High Academy training program where we train the customers, and we will start this year in June with a digital version of this training program.
Excellent, led by Mr. Peach.
Yeah.
And certainly one of the biggest experts in this field.
Yeah.
Yeah, only to make a remark on that. So the very interesting fact of the pandemic situation is that we more and more also get specific requirements than to have high academy courses, then also on special topics and concentrated topics. Then, and that's also something which we will take up in the next months.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Volker, for the moment. Thank you also for all these different fields. You have to get really broad here. And before we come to the round of our final statements with our experts, Uwe, we jump for a moment again in our questions coming in through Slido or the chat.
Yep. So there I would like to start with the last question. Which came in directly to the RDA tool, Volker, and that was the question. It jumped. Now here it is. How do you cover cybersecurity issues when collecting data from remote sites? So this is the topic with the VPN tunnel via.
Yes.
Yep.
We do. We use, in this cases, we use standard tools from named manufacturers. So we create a tunnel to the customer, but this is not an high volt development. This tunnel we use therefore professional tools from professional suppliers, and we are sure that they look for this or look after this safety issues.
Mm-hmm. Great. So the tool was already involved now, RDA. Uwe?
Yeah, there's another very important question. How can you guarantee that the test object, which is tested here during the FAT, is then exactly the same type of equipment what is delivered then on customer side? So how do you guarantee the correct identification of the test objects?
Yes. That's why the FAT takes also a longer time, not only 1 hour to have a view on the system. Mm-hmm. So we check everything very in detail, and we also record each serial number of each equipment together with the customer and bring it to a list. And this is a proof of the equipment which will be delivered, and on site you can do the same again, and so you can compare this equipment. Yeah.
So the factory acceptance test is more complex than it was when you have the client here?
No, not really. Not really. It is always one important step to see to go through a list of content of delivery.
Okay.
And in this list, every nameplate is marked, is signed, or is written in this list, so you can compare every time the equipment with this delivery list.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Another question which goes more into the direction of Greg and Cawir. Is there the experience on your side that more people can participate in the video FAT than you would send over to Dresden and spending travel costs? So do you have more people which were on your side than doing the video FAT? Or was it the same as you would have sent to Dresden for an haptic FAT?
Yeah, I think in general it was the same number of people we would have sent. I think if you turn it around the other side, generally Charleston's a very attractive place for our clients to come visit. It's on the coast, it's got a good climate, there's a lot of history here. Everybody wants to come visit us, but we've had to disappoint some people recently, some of our clients, because they've wanted to come, but COVID-19 restrictions have prevented that from happening. So we've probably had several situations here that I've been a part of where we may have had more people on the video call for the FAT than there would have been visiting the plant. So maybe more people get to have their eyes on the test object and on the test system and the actual FAT test than would have ordinarily been invited to the plant.
Again, micro.
as I mentioned before, yeah, I think the physical and directly contact and come to Dresden for us is the ideal situation, because we can learn also a lot of things in the factory. But of course, during this pandemic, we do not have any solution, so we have to find the alternative. Yeah? And I think we learned during this pandemic and make us more prepared for the future. We don't know what kind of the pandemic we may have in the future. So I think this is good for us to prepare in case we should have in the coming future another pandemic or another crisis. We already know how to solve it. This is my opinion.
Thank you very much. I would like to close this round of questions with two shorter ones, and I think both go to Volker. So the first question is, are there any limitations for remote SAT regarding the kind of test systems? Or is it valid for all test systems to do also a remote or video SAT?
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing. As I mentioned some minutes before, it depends on the test system. Really, it is like this, because some test systems are, for instance, designed for mobile use. So it is normal that the test system is disassembled and assembled again. Everything is more or less plug and play. So for such kind of system, it's very simple to do an SAT, very remote. But if you have a more complex system, maybe like this here in our background, it is really difficult, and I prefer there to make SAT by the experts, by the staff from our company.
Okay, then meanwhile a third one came in there, short one. Could HIGHVOLT recommend a checklist of activities that should be started with, especially for remote witnessing? And it's not meant the list of tests, but a list of the organizational topics. Do we have something like that we can hand that out up front?
Yes, we can do it. It's more or less technical questions, organization questions, what we are doing every week, so we can record some kind. Yeah.
And finally, will HIGHVOLT expand to opportunities of video FAT then also after the pandemic as an additional service for customers around the world, and could that be also extended to new solutions as well, like remote testing?
Yeah, I think there are different aspects how we deal with these things after the pandemic situation. There are, of course, technical issues. There are economical and also ecological questions what we have to consider in this field. So video FAT, I think, will be a solution for the future, for sure, from my point of view. And please help me again with the second part of the question.
Yeah, and will there be additional functionality like remote testing or maintenance testing on the system?
Okay.
Well, I think that was also possible in the past.
Yes. This is the RDA module, what we already mentioned. This is a tool where you can do some maintenance work also via remote, also support customer during testing. Also, this is possible. So we did it also already in the past, and we will, I think, we'll use also these digital developments what we have now to improve also these solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I would like to hand over back to Florian. And as Volker has now spoken the last 5 minutes, So he has only 1 minute for the final statement, and the other two have 2 minutes.
Exactly. So the last 90 seconds, we do a quick statement round, a last statement round, gentlemen, here in this HIGHVOLT web talk. Starting with Greg. So it's for all of you, of course, the same final statement question, but with certainly different answers. Greg, taking all the positive spirit that we are talking about today in this web talk, what additional digital solutions would you like to have if you have a wish box, and to say really this could even improve our work and make the job even more easier and enjoyable?
I think we have to extend our expertise that we've developed through these past months to rethink our collaborative strategies. I think there are some benefits economically. Something that's really interesting to me is incorporating and extending engineering, diagnostics, and sensing into remote maintenance. Volker has mentioned some things like that. I think that could provide some substantial economic benefits. If the client is sitting across the ocean or in another region, they can log into the system, collect data, or constantly have that data fed back to them from various sensors of the equipment to diagnose any issues that there may be. Hopefully we don't have any issues ever, but if we do, it would be nice to have the engineering go ahead and design that into the system so that we have sensors detecting things before it causes a larger issue.
Thank you, Greg. And to you, Javi, the question, taking this positive spirit here, we had so many ideas in this round, in this talk now. What could your job make even a little bit more easy and perhaps more enjoyable?
I think HIGHVOLT can start to consider and extend digital solution for customer service, support, and of course also for the calibration service, due to the limited of the engineer that can go abroad from HIGHVOLT. So we may need to reshape the support platform of email and call into more IoT and digital platform. Practical solution can be like a mobile app via Android or iOS, centralized platform to technical support and database, remote assessment, etc.
Thank you, Xavier. This is a concrete ask for this job here, Volker.
Yes.
Could you develop this? Could you offer this?
Yes, this is one part of our internet platform what we're developing now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess we will improve our customer support for sure. We started already, took the opportunity and did some investments to improve the maintenance work, the FAT, the SAT, to make it more convenient for the customers, more practicable for the customers. Yeah, and I think we are now at the beginning only for the augmented reality. Today we saw only video clips, but with the tool augmented reality, you can do much more in the future. You can really lead the user of such kind of equipment through a test system or to any system, and give them recommendations and commands what they have to do. So I expect really a big development in future.
Looking forward to this future. Volker Schmidt, thank you very much being part of this round. Thank you, Dr. Gregory Smith in South Carolina, in Charleston. Thank you very much. Also, Xavier Ginting in Indonesia, in Jakarta. Thank you very much. Stay with us for a moment because Uwe and I will finish this talk. It was the first web talk of this season. We're going to have some more. But before, Uwe, what we all discussed today, working under pandemic situation, under pandemic conditions, generates much flexibility and innovation and all ends of the industry. So everybody is involved. What is your outtake of this talk in the last 60 minutes?
They're very simple. It doesn't depend on digital or non-digital. It always depends on humans, and we need it on both sides. So we need it on our side to bring things forward, and I think we have shown that it is possible. And we also need then the right people on our customer side to take up then also the opportunities which are offered from digital tools. And when I have to look forward, then there will not be a black or white future. It will be hopefully much more colorful. And meaning with that is it will not be only digital, or it will be not only being on site. I think what is the major drive forward will go towards a hybrid solution, because it's also important that we have this human interaction, so that we really also understand each other. And this is much easier when you have the direct personal interaction. And nevertheless, there will be a very clear advantage also for solving problems via digital tools, for reducing costs, reducing ecological impact. So that also things which will make us thinking twice if we send someone around the world by an airplane for a 1-hour meeting. That will not happen. Nevertheless, in the end, we need both, and therefore the future is hybrid.
Absolutely, and this is exactly what we are doing here, Uwe, in this format, in the HIGHVOLT Web Talk. It is a hybrid format because we are live here in Dresden every Wednesday now, also next Wednesday at 2 p.m. So we hope that you will all join us. Uwe, what is the subject next week on the April 28th?
Yeah, April 28, we will talk about distribution transformers. There we have topics on the ecological footprint of distribution transformers, how to do a fully automated testing in a high volume production environment. And we will also touch new technologies in terms of voltage regulated distribution transformers with tap changers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Uwe Kaltenborn. So we hope to see you also. Greg and Cawir, of course, you are invited next time as just a guest. You can sit relaxed back. I would love to travel again to the US. A part of my family lives there. I would love to come one day to Indonesia. But all this will happen in the future. And as long as it's not happening, we are staying hybrid and we are staying interested. We are staying flexible. Thank you very much for this round of the HIGHVOLT Web Talk, and see you next week.